Alrighty, final project, PHL 131, let's do it. Alright, so we're gonna do a little skit on Kant, Hobbes, and Martin Nussbaum. So, this right here, will be Hobbes, this will be the character. This will be Kant, ignore the hair, and then Martin Nussbaum we'll go with. These bad boys, yeah, love them. Anyways, I think it should be about 4 or 5 minutes of stuff. Anyway, looking forward to something different than the papers, obviously. Looking forward to it, so hope you enjoy. All right, setting here, we got a public square with people arguing and bickering nearby. Did you see that quarrel? This is the natural state of mankind, competition, distrust, and the constant fear that others will harm us. Without a sovereign to restrain them, people fall quickly into conflict. As I wrote, without a common power to keep them in awe, life becomes solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, in short. You paint humanity too far bleakly, Thomas. People are not merely creatures of fear. They possess reason, and reason gives them the capacity to act from duty. The good will is good not because of its consequences, but because of the principle of what it acts on. Human beings can choose moral law voluntarily, but not simply obey through compulsion. Choose. They only choose what protects their self-interest. That's why covenant without the sword are but words. People break promises the moment it benefits them. Your faith in reason ignores human passion, especially the desire to dominate or outdo one another. And your faith in authority ignores human dignity. A law cannot just be merely because a ruler enforces it. If a maxim cannot be universalized, it cannot be moral. Even a sovereign must be judged by reason and not by fear. Whoa. Both of you speak as if fear and reason are the only parts of humanity that matter. But people are more complicated than that. They need opportunity for flourishing, compatibilities that allow them to live full lives, not merely just to obey or survive. Human functioning depends on emotions, relationships, imagination, and practical reason. A society must support these compatibilities if it wants real moral citizens. Compatibilities? Flourishing? These are luxuries of peaceful times. First, secure people from violence. Only then you can discuss ideals. Without order, every person becomes enemy by every other. But disorder doesn't arise only from a lack of authority. Wrongdoing often begins with conformity. The desperate desire to fit in, to avoid the shame, to obey norms without questioning them. People harm others not because they are free, but because they feel pressured by a group of expectations. Even the powerful sovereign you praise can become another source of conformity. Precisely. When people follow rules merely because others expect it, they act secretly. True morality requires autonomy, the self-imposition of principles that all rational beings could endorse. Any action done simply to avoid punishment or exclusion has no moral worth. Autonomy cannot prevent violence. You assume people naturally prefer fairness, but fear motivates far more consistently. It is fear that compels them to keep covenants. Remove the fear of punishment, see how quickly promises dissolve. Fear can discipline, but it cannot cultivate humanity. It cannot teach compassion or resilience, and it certainly cannot keep people from following harmful norms simply because everyone else is doing it. A society built only on fear may avoid open conflict, but does not produce flourishing citizens. Flourishing is too fragile. People must first be protected from one another. Protection is necessary, yes, but not sufficient. People also need stable emotions, opportunities for thought, and a supportive community. Broad human capabilities prevent injustice far more effectively than human fear alone. A person with empathy, imagination, and emotional development is less likely to be swept into harmful conformity. Less likely to retreat others merely as means to an end. Flourishing requires respect for persons, something no sovereign can enforce perfectly. Moral law must reside within. But your internal law is powerless when someone stronger decides to ignore it. And your external power is blind when a ruler decides to command injustice. Which is why both of your perspectives must be supplemented. Authority is needed, yes, but it must be guided by moral principles that protect human dignity. And moral principles must be supported by social conditions that help people develop their capacities. Flourishing does not happen in a vacuum. Yet, I must insist that fear is the first teacher of social peace. Fear is merely obedience. Morality is something higher, self-legislation through reason. And reason grows only in supportive environments. A child who grows up fearful, shamed, or emotionally stunted cannot become the autonomous moral agent you envision. Secure capabilities are the prerequisites for both your theories to work. Without them, people fall into fear, conformity, or even both. Do you claim flourishing precedes peace? I claim they must grow together. Peace provides stability. Flourishing provides meaning. Flourishing also prevents the conformity-driven wrongdoing that stems from the desire to fit in. Society must allow rational autonomy and restrain destructive impulses. and support the full range of human capability, so that fear does not dominate, conformity does not mislead, and dignity becomes possible. Only then do humans live fully, not merely survive. Perhaps we may agree. A society must create the conditions in which the moral law can be freely chosen, conditions in which people are protected from falling into conflict, and the conditions in which they can flourish, to reason, to feel, to imagine, and to live lives worthy of human dignity. Alright, that's the end of the project. Thank you again, Dr. Fennen, for a great semester. I learned a lot about philosophy that I did not know going into this class. You taught the class at a whole nother level that, again, the average person doesn't think, nor did I think. So I appreciate you for doing that. I learned a lot from the course, and I would highly recommend. So anyways, have a good winter break, and yeah, I might see you in the future.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree.